Coming in, I mean, unfortunately, we knew it was going to be a little messy, but it's just something we felt important that had to be done, that should be done. So, but like I said,
The manpower was just very stressed and critical to the point of almost breaking.
Hold on to your seats, folks, because today we're diving deep into one of the most scandalous sagas shaking up a small town in Illinois. That's right, we're talking about the unfolding drama in Dolton, where the so-called super mayor Tiffany Henyard is facing a storm of controversy that could bring her entire empire crashing down. And trust us, this story has everything. Political power plays, financial scandals, and even federal indictments. So let's get right into it.
I think you should pay everybody. Is it the reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
what was it for?
It was for shirts. That's what it's for. You just asked me.
Picture this. A tense meeting room, the air thick with anger and frustration. Mayor Tiffany Henyard, known for her bold style and even bolder claims of being the most powerful woman on Chicago's South Side, is in the hot seat once again. Facing off against her board of trustees, she lashes out. Stop creating chaos. You do not stand for me, and I want you to step down. She's not holding back, folks. She's angry, and she's making it clear that she's not going down without a fight.
Is there a motion to terminate Keith Freeman?
But what exactly is fueling this fury? Well, it all started with a demand for financial transparency, a demand that Mayor Henyard wasn't too keen on fulfilling. The board had just moved to require the village to open its financial books, and Henyard swiftly vetoed the decision. And just like that, the stage was set for a showdown.
It's in deep debt, and that is the finding of an investigation of village finances and the spending habits of beleaguered Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
But hold on, because this story takes an even juicier turn. The very next twist involves Louis Lacey, Dolton's chief of police, and one of Henyard's closest allies. Now, if you thought things couldn't get any more dramatic, think again. Lacey has been indicted on federal charges, and we're not talking about some small potatoes here. We're talking about bankruptcy fraud, making false statements, and perjury. That's right, folks. This guy is in deep trouble. The indictment lays out a 9-count charge, accusing Lacey of concealing assets and lying under oath to dodge a whopping $440,000 in a lawsuit settlement. If convicted, he could be looking at up to 45 years behind bars.
Well, Mr. Lacey is absolutely not guilty of all 9 counts. I believe he's cooperating. And if you cooperate, you have to admit your guilt first.
Now, why is this such a big deal? Because Lacey isn't just any police chief. He's been one of Henyard's most loyal foot soldiers, allegedly doing her dirty work for years. And the big question on everyone's mind is, will Lacey flip? Will he turn on Henyard to save his own skin? If he does, this could be the final nail in the coffin for the self-styled super mayor. Let's break down what this indictment really means. First of all, it's not just about Lacey's alleged crimes. Sure, bankruptcy, fraud, and perjury are serious charges, but this isn't just about one man's attempt to dodge debt. No, this is about the potential unraveling a corrupt system that Henyard is rumored to have built around herself. If Lacey starts talking, he could spill all the tea on Henyard's alleged misuse of power, from turning the Dolton Police Department into her personal security force to extorting local businesses.
An illegal appointment. That's what the trustees I talked to are calling this. They say the news took them by surprise, and now they're talking to legal counsel to figure out their next steps.
And speaking of misuse of power, let's talk about Henyard's controversial use of the police. Under her leadership, the Dolton Police Department seems to have transformed into a sort of private army, allegedly doing everything from shaking down local businesses to intimidating political rivals.
Yes, Fox 32 has investigated Henyard's use of a police security detail, taking officers off the street and costing thousands of dollars in.
According to former Dolton Police Chief Robert Collins, things got so bad that officers were being pulled from their regular duties, like, actually fighting crime, to serve as Henyard's personal bodyguards.
Yeah, Mayor Henyard fired her chief of police late last year without any approval from the village board. So now Robert Collins has filed a lawsuit.
Collins didn't mince words when he described how the mayor's demands for personal security left his department stretched so thin it was nearly breaking. We desperately needed these officers on the streets fighting crime, Collins said. But instead, they were assigned to chauffeur the mayor around. It's wrong, and someone needs to be held accountable. And let's not forget the outrageous spending spree that's left Dolton teetering on the brink of financial ruin. Folks, it turns out that Henyard has been spending taxpayer money like it's her own personal piggy bank. Reports have surfaced that she's racked up hundreds of thousands of dollars in expenses on things like a private ice skating rink and lavish trips funded by village credit cards. And don't even get us started on the $33,000 she allegedly dropped on Amazon in just one day. Seriously, what was she buying and why?
Who would make a one day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon? And the main thing is,
These expenses, coupled with allegations of pay-to-play schemes where local businesses were forced to donate to her charity to stay open, paint a pretty damning picture of a leader who seems more interested in living large than actually serving her community.
Sometimes we get invoices, but those invoices lead to more questions, and sometimes we don't get questions, answers to those questions. And so it's not about clickbait, it's about just making sure the right thing is being done.
But here's where things get really juicy. The FBI has been sniffing around Henyard for a while now, and the indictment of Lacey might just be the break they need to bring her down. Federal subpoenas have already been flying around, targeting Henyard's administration and demanding everything from employment records to financial statements. And with Lacey now facing serious jail time, insiders are speculating that he might just cut a deal with prosecutors. If that happens, Henyard could find herself in the crosshairs of a full-blown federal investigation.
Wrong is wrong, and there's a time to hold people responsible and accountable for their actions.
And honestly, who could blame Lacey for wanting to save himself? After all, he's not the only one feeling the heat. Rumor has it that several other members of Henyard's inner circle are already singing like canaries, spilling secrets left and right in a desperate bid to avoid their own indictments. One of these potential turncoats is Keith Freeman, Henyard's former top aide, who was recently charged with, you guessed it, bankruptcy, fraud. Thurlan, who used to be one of Henyard's closest allies, now seems to be cooperating with trustees who are investigating Henyard's leadership and spending practices. And if he's willing to talk, who knows what kind of dirt he might have on his former boss. But let's circle back to the financial disaster that has become Dolton under Henyard's leadership. Remember how we mentioned that the village is in the red? Well, it's not just a small deficit we're talking about. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, hired as a special investigator to look into Dolton's finances, uncovered that the village went from a surplus of $5.61 million in April 2022 to a shocking deficit of $3.65 million by May 2024. That's nearly a $9 million swing in just 2 years, folks. And where did all that money go?
So that's one of the reasons I vote no when we go through our board packets. It's like, some of this stuff, it's like you don't know exactly what it's for, and then when you ask a question, there's no answer.
According to Lightfoot's report, village credit cards were used for extravagant purchases, including that infamous Amazon spending spree, along with thousands more at Target, Walgreens, and Wayfair.
The township residents are paying for her fund.
And it doesn't stop there. Lightfoot also revealed that over $6 million in checks had been approved but never sent to vendors, leaving the village's financial obligations in chaos. So not only is the village deeply in debt, but it also has a pile of unpaid bills that it can't afford to cover. Talk about a mess. Now, if you think Henyard's financial mismanagement is shocking, wait until you hear about her response to all these allegations. Rather than come clean or try to make things right, Henyard has doubled down, insisting that she's the victim of a smear campaign orchestrated by her political enemies. In fact, she's gone so far as to reappoint her disgraced deputy chief, Louis Lacey, to his position despite the federal charges against him. That's right, folks. Henyard is standing by her man, even as he faces nearly half a century behind bars. But why would she do that? Well, some insiders believe it's all about maintaining control. By keeping Lacey in his post, Henyard might be trying to send a message to others in her administration. Stay loyal, and I'll protect you. But if Lacey decides to cooperate with investigators, that loyalty could evaporate faster than Dolton's financial reserves.
What is it?
Well, they knew what they were doing, and they thought they can get away with it.
And speaking of loyalty, or the lack thereof, Henyard's actions have left many in Dolton feeling betrayed. At a recent board meeting, things got so heated that the 4 trustees walked out in protest after Henyard shot down their resolution to open an investigation into her alleged misuse of taxpayer money. And it's not just the trustees who are fed up. Local residents are also making their voices heard, demanding accountability and calling for Henyard's resignation. This is a disgrace, one resident shouted during the meeting. They say that you're the worst mayor in America. I agree. And let's not gloss over the personal scandals that have added even more fuel to the fire. Henyard is currently battling multiple allegations, including a harassment and retaliation complaint by a former employee who accused the mayor of firing her after she reported being assaulted during a work trip. Henyard has denied all wrongdoing, but the mere presence of such allegations is enough to raise serious concerns about her leadership and judgment. Now, with all of this swirling around her, you think Henyard might want to lay low for a while, right? Well, think again. Instead, she's been playing a cat and mouse game with the press, avoiding questions and dodging interviews. In fact, after Lightfoot's damning report was released, Henyard was nowhere to be found. She didn't show up at the village hall, and her office refused to comment. It's almost like she's trying to make herself disappear. But with the FBI breathing down her neck, disappearing might not be an option for much longer.
Hey guys, this is Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the People's Mayor and People's Supervisor.
So, where does all of this leave us? Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The fate of Dolton and its embattled mayor now hangs in the balance. Will Lacey flip and expose all of Henyard's secrets? Will the FBI's investigation finally bring justice to a town that's been plagued by corruption and mismanagement? Or will Henyard somehow manage to escape the consequences of her actions, as she has so many times before? One thing is for sure. This story is far from over. In fact, it feels like it's just getting started. With new revelations coming to light almost daily and the possibility of even more indictments on the horizon, it's clear that Dolton is in for a wild ride. And who knows, by the time all is said and done, the supermayor might just find herself facing a very different title, inmate. So, what do you think? Is this the end of the road for Tiffany Henyard, or does she have a few more tricks up her sleeve to escape justice once again? And if Louis Lacey decides to cooperate with investigators, could this be the beginning of a massive political takedown in Dolton? We want to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below. Until next time, stay tuned and stay curious